Hey, so this video is about a superpower that I have developed over the last few years. And so it's basically, I have an intellectual nature capacity, predisposition. It's a part of who I am. And so in the past, I have engaged myself in conversations with people about a variety of subjects. And it doesn't always, it's not always enjoyable. I've certainly got into, see, debates, but then like heated debates and arguments and like ego battles. It's like, getting to a place where it's like you're trying to school somebody or correct them or do whatever it is that you're attempting to do while you're putting forth the information that you're aware of, which includes your opinions and whatever research that you've done, whatever it is that you think that you're doing, right? And so there is something that has come up. So I can't remember what I was doing. I was looking at something on YouTube, and up came this video about Dr. Phil interviewing President Trump, or sorry, not President Trump, Donald Trump. And I found it fascinating. Very similar to the video. I made a video about an interview with this guy who interviewed Vladimir Putin about his perspective on the events that have unfolded in Europe and with Russia and conflicts and things like that, and politics and whatnot. And I really enjoyed that video that my friend sent me, and I just thought it was really I can respect somebody who has the ability to speak about complex issues for extended periods of time, and doesn't seem like they're looking to dodge any kind of questions, or they're not like he seemed very sincere, and so I appreciate that. Seemed like a person of refinement, of education, of like a person of sophistication. And so that says something. I mean, when I listen to somebody speak, I look for the marks of intelligence, and as well as the marks of ignorance and arrogance. When people have certain attitudes, certain mentalities, when they harbor certain, quote unquote, negative kind of attitudes and mentalities, it shines through. Especially in an extended discussion which with somebody who is keenly presenting questions. You can usually pick up on the fact that somebody is kind of because they get they get offended by things. They're not able to maintain composure and essentially handle themselves in an environment where they're perceiving pressure, right? And so I found it, this video came up, and I found it fascinating. Like I shared at the end of that video that one about Vladimir Putin, that something about Trump is that there was a prophecy that was essentially given by the channel Bashar leading up to the fall of 2016, that he said that there is an event that will take place at that time, that as we move forward, as a species, humanity moving forward, as we evolve and overcome a lot of these challenges that we've been facing, which has been creating the experience of segregation and stuff like that. When we look back and to pinpoint what it was that was essentially the catalyst, that that is what led to the changes taking place, which helped us to get from where we were, from the mess that we made, to where we're going and beyond. And, there wasn't a whole lot of other clarification, but it was like a big thing leading up to this. And the only thing that happened during that time that was notable for myself was the inauguration of President Trump. And I know that when he made his inauguration speech, I found it to be quite captivating. And then I don't pay attention to politics just because I have my reasons, and I've made videos about that, why I don't watch the news, and what I think that it means if you're doing that, if you're exposing yourself to these kind of narratives that get pushed across those airwaves. And so I have my reasons, but so I don't study politics, but I do study people. And I study behavior. I study, and so certainly when I saw that, I watched that video, and it was really nice. Both men sat there and said, I respect the work that you do. Dr. Phil, he's a doctor. I mean, what does that mean? It just means that he went to school. He jumped through a bunch of hoops. It says he could jump through hoops. It says that he could do research. It says that he could think rationally. It says that he's using logic in order to arrive at certain conclusions, forming hypotheses and stuff like that, and how he works his way through things. So that's why, people who have credentials are respected in certain worlds, right? And and with Donald Trump, I mean, he came across as somebody, he never said anything for me that got me to a place that aroused my suspicion about the person. He seemed to be genuine and sincere and authentic. A human being who is figuring out how to sit in the seat of one of the most powerful people in the world. I mean, of course, there's, politics is a big subject. I mean, but anyways, I mean, and so I found it fascinating, and I shared this information with a few people, and different people responded to it different ways. Some people already have their mind made up about that guy. I don't know. I don't know if I do as well. I'd like to think that the reason that I keep doing research, very limited amount of research, but I don't know. I have faith in humanity. I have faith in people. I have love for all people, men, women, animals, right? I mean, I don't think that anybody is a useless human being or isn't, yeah. And from what I could see, it seems like he cares. The whole, I didn't even know what MAGA meant until I looked it up, Make America Great Again. And I believe that, because whatever has been going on for a long time needs to stop. I mean, there's some things going on behind the scenes that don't seem to have the general population best interest at heart. It seems to be more to do with private interests and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, anything that's going to help facilitate a change, if it's ruffling feathers and stuff like that, I mean, awesome. That's what we need. I mean, you should get angry. I mean, some people bring up this thing about the fact that he told everybody to march on the Capitol. I don't know if that's exactly what he said, or if it, but I mean, to me, it's just like, maybe it's like a protest. At what point do we protest? I remember I went downtown and protested, "We are the 1%." I had one of those signs. And it's like, at what point, when do you stop? They say somebody can only ride your back when you're bent over, and what you allow to continue will. Sometimes you need to stand up and take drastic measures because everything else that's been being done hasn't been working, right? I mean, it was certainly the case with the African American people in the States. They rioted because they're like, okay, this is enough. This cannot continue. It has to stop. It happened here in Canada too with the American Indian people, where they're digging up, or they're like finding all these mass graves at these churches and stuff like that, and like people lost it. They burned down churches, and it was a scary moment. And it's like, is that the way? I don't know what the way is. What does a person do when everything that they've been trying, when they're just constantly being disregarded, disrespected, when they're not being taken into consideration, when steps aren't being taken to reconcile some of the atrocities and travesties that have taken place in the world? Like eventually something has to happen. Something has to shift so that we can move beyond these things that are a part of history that that need to be addressed, because it's important. Yeah. And so anyways, like I brought this up, and I brought this up with somebody, or with a few people, and like some people, they have very strong opinions about this stuff. And maybe I do too. I don't know. I don't feel that way. I feel like for me, it's just fun. I'm just very excited at the prospect of change, and of somebody who seems like that is their prerogative. Like they are somebody who is like, let's move forward, let's take whatever steps that we need to. And it's like, sure, maybe not everything works, but that's a part of the process. I mean, that's how I work as a human being. Not everything that I do is maybe what I should have done, but it's like, it was a step that I needed to go through in order to figure out what step to take next. So it's like, you can't discount the quote unquote mistakes that you make, because they were a part of the process. So it's all just a part of the process. And so, and becoming mature. And the same thing with that guy, with Donald Trump. I mean, that's gotta be, that's a lot of responsibility, and so, everybody does things, learns and grows and goes through stuff and whatnot, and finds their way, right? And so, and I started sharing this stuff with somebody, and it turned into one of these debates that I have found myself in too many times, where it becomes, it's like, okay, well, what about this and what about that? And at the end of the day, it's like, what I realized, it's like, this conversation is going nowhere. And in recognizing that, with the recognition of a conversation that is literally going in circles, it is just an ego battle. It's like we're looking for the next piece of information to essentially throw in the other person's face that can essentially support our perspective or view, whatever point we're trying to get across, so that it might land on the other person in a certain way. And we're just kind of like, it's just this back and forth thing. And something that has been just super invaluable to me is the ability to recognize that that's what's going on, and then to walk away and just say, you know what, we're just, this conversation, like to be vocal about it, say, I don't feel like this conversation is really going anywhere. I was just sharing something that I thought was interesting. I didn't want to enter into an extended debate. I have nothing that I need to prove to you. I am not trying to prove something to myself. And so I think it's best that we just, agree to disagree, and just stop having this conversation, because I think if you continue heated debates for long enough, if your ego gets big enough, then you can start creating other kinds of conflicts. So to be able to just stop it before it gets out of hand has been a very useful tool for myself. And I've exercised this a number of times, and I keep getting better at it, being able to recognize when these sorts of debates are developing, because it's about topics that can be triggering for different people for a variety of reasons. So just being able to voice where I'm at and say I am done with this conversation. I don't, like I said, I don't have anything that I need to prove to you or myself, and so this is where it stops right here, because it can get unhealthy. And I tell you, it has just been so empowering to be able to walk away from a quote unquote argument, from any need, from any desire to win a conversation, to win an argument, to like mic drop, oh, told you so, right? To one up somebody, to just get over your own ego for what it's worth. It's just so empowering. And yeah, and it only gets better. The more I practice this, the more I'm able to just walk away from conversations that that aren't I don't know how to say it, feeding my soul, that don't feel good, right? Because who likes arguing? Some people do, and that's the thing, and that's why you have to be careful, because some people do like arguing, some people do like drama, some people do like conflict. And so and they like, some people, like, they do this thing, it's called playing the devil's advocate. So they'll just, like, even though they don't necessarily disagree with what you're sharing, they will like take and like try to poke holes in everything that you say, under the premise that they're helping you to develop your perspective, or refine your perspective more, something like that. But I really don't appreciate it when people do that, because they're essentially trying to provoke you. They're playing a game rather than just being sincere, open, honest, upfront, straightforward, genuine, open, honest, upfront, straightforward, genuine, authentic, sincere, those things, heart-based. And so you have to be careful, because it's so easy to end up in these, because these people who enjoy those types of conversations, those types of debates, it's like, I don't know how else to put it. I'm not saying they're miserable, but it's like misery loves company. Like they will try to drag you in. They lure you in by provoking certain conversations, by provoking, by bringing up certain topics so that they can, feed whatever it is that is, or get whatever it is out of it that they're looking for, right? So the more that, if you are a peaceful person and you don't appreciate, like confrontation, absolutely, I do believe that confrontation is necessary. I do believe in speaking up. It is super necessary to always be, like I said, open, honest, upfront, straightforward, genuine, authentic, and sincere all of the time. When you bite your tongue, when you don't say what needs to be said, you create problems, because you're not communicating effectively, and then certain situations or circumstances can repeat, and you're not helping somebody else by giving them feedback that they can reflect on and possibly use to help evolve their own character, their own behavior or mentality, or whatever it is, their algorithm, the way that they're approaching certain situations, and how it's coming across to other people, how the way that they behave affects other people. So it's super important to always speak up, to speak your truth, and to let it be known, where you're at, to give others feedback, right? But if you don't like arguing or conflict or ego battles, power struggles, it really helps to have a tool that you can use to what do you call it, neutralize that aggressive energy that some people bring to the table. And you want to make sure that you're not doing anything that is that's feeding that fire. You don't want to be, because it takes two to tango. So you need to, what do we say? Not man up. You need to be the bigger person for what it's worth, and to see through what's going on, to see through behavior, to see through the conversation, and then very gently, subtly, so subtle that it's unnoticeable, to direct the conversation in a way that is more healthy, at least for yourself, and avoid, getting caught up in conversations that are going nowhere, getting carried away with an ego battle, or this need to one up someone, or wanting to tell them off, or to make cutting remarks, or whatever it is that you think that you're going to get out of it. Because there is it just comes to mind, there's a quote from this guy Dalton in this movie Roadhouse that I find is very profound. Is when he's in the hospital, and he meets this woman that he ends up falling in love with, and she says to him, because he's a bouncer at a bar, and she says, "Do you ever win a fight?" And he looks at her and he says, "Nobody ever wins a fight." Right? You don't win fights. It's not, if you're fighting, you lose. You win when you work together with someone, when you support each other. That's when you win, not when you fight. Fights are an absolute last resort that you should enter into with sorrow. Like, this is something Lao Tzu says: you enter into battle with sorrow and compassion, sadness, that is what it has come to. And you take every opportunity that you can to bring peace, because fighting is not the answer. Violence is not the answer. So, I think that's it.